So you're thinking about moving to Beaumont, Alberta? Well, guys, you have come to the right place because today we are talking about everything you need to know about living in the city of Beaumont, Alberta. But before we get into it, I wanted to thank you for stopping by the videos. Thank you for stopping by the channel. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. My name is Brian. I'm a real estate agent in the Edmonton area market, and I get calls and texts from people every single day who are looking to make the move to Edmonton from other cities in Canada, from cities in the United States, and from abroad. I love helping people move out here to the Edmonton area because it is such a great and affordable city for people to be in. So if that sounds like you, if you're looking to make a move to Edmonton, then I would love to hear from you. I'm going to throw my information in the description so that you can get in contact with me however you feel comfortable, and we can help make your move to Edmonton a smooth one. Whether you're looking to move in 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, I'm always happy to help other people move here to the Edmonton area. Now, guys, we're going to talk about Beaumont today. We're going to start off giving you a little bit of information about the city itself. We're going to get into some pros and cons, and we are going to hop onto Google Maps and go through a map tour so you can get a good sense of what it would be like living day to day in Beaumont. Now, if this video is not enough for you, if you want to get an even better in-detail sense of what it's like to live in Beaumont, then stick around on the channel because later on this week, we're going to be posting a video walkthrough tour of Beaumont. We're going to show you some of the amenities, some of the landmarks. We're going to show you different houses in different price points so that you know how far your money would go here in Beaumont. But if you're interested in that, then go ahead and click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you are the first to know about the current market in the Edmonton area. Now, guys, let's get right into the ins and the outs, the pros and the cons, the nitty and the gritty about living in Beaumont, Alberta. So Beaumont is a city that's just on the southeast side of Edmonton. I actually drove there just the other day to go take a look at a couple of houses in the Beaumont area, and it took me about 3 minutes to go from the very southern tip of Edmonton to the northern tip of Beaumont. Now, that's not a very long drive at all. That is from the two extremities of the city, but you're basically bordering on the city of Edmonton. Now, Beaumont is a city of 21,000 people as of the most recent census in 2021. Now, that is the smaller of the major suburbs of Edmonton. So it does kind of give you some of that small town feel. We're going to talk about that when we get to the pros. Beaumont has an average household median income of $135,000. And Beaumont was originally built as a small French farming community. That's actually one of the misconceptions that a lot of people who grew up in Edmonton have about Beaumont is that you need to know French to get along in Beaumont. Of the 20 or so thousand people who were recently surveyed in the census, there were about 35 who only spoke French, so that's not going to be a problem. Now, you're still going to get a lot of French charm living in Beaumont. A lot of road signs, even some storefronts have French wording on them. You're able to put your kids in French immersion. The schools all offer French immersion so that your kids can grow up speaking the language, but you by no means need to know French to get along by Beaumont. As more and more people have discovered Beaumont as this hidden gem, they've moved there, and that's kind of diluted some of that necessity to speak French or the French feeling there, but you still do get a lot of French charm living in Beaumont. Now let's get right into the pros of living in Beaumont, and the first is going to be the housing market. Now, guys, I had a really hard time narrowing down what exactly about the housing market I wanted to talk about. We're going to get into 3 different points, and the first is going to be the affordability. Now, Edmonton itself is already such an affordable city in Canada. It's one of the most affordable cities to live in North America, and Beaumont is even more affordable in terms of housing than Edmonton is. This is going to be different than some of the other suburbs we see in Edmonton, such as Spruce Grove, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, where the real estate is a little bit more expensive than it is in Edmonton. Here in Beaumont, we are a little bit more affordable in Edmonton. So that homeownership dream gets even more affordable out here in Beaumont. Now, the second point I wanted to talk about when it comes to the real estate market in Beaumont is the fact that there's a large percentage of homeowners in Beaumont. Now, if you look on a national level, in Canada, about 65% of people own their homes versus about 35% who rent their homes. Here in Beaumont, that ratio is going to be closer to 80-20 for homeowners. There is a lot of people in Beaumont who own their homes. Now, different types of people feel different ways about this, but there are some benefits to more people owning their homes in the communities that you live in. One of the first benefits that you're going to see is people are more likely to take care of their homes if they own their homes. They're going to be more likely to keep up with the maintenance. They're going to do more in their yard. They're going to keep up with the repairs and the updates of the home. Not only is this going to make your community more aesthetically pleasing on your day-to-day life in the community, but it's also going to help you keep your home value. If home buyers come into a neighborhood to look at a house and all the other houses are run down, they're not going to be very impressed by the neighborhood or the community. It's not going to give off the best vibes. But if you come into a community and every house is well maintained, it's well kept, that's going to feel like a better sense of community. It's going to feel like people care more about the community. Now, the second benefit that we're going to talk about for more people owning their homes is that you're more likely to develop lasting relationships and friendships if there are more homeowners in the area. Now, if we think about this a little bit, if there are a lot of renters in the area, they're not going to want to put down their roots. They're not going to want to develop all these friendships if they know that they might not renew their lease in the next year or the next 2 years. Whereas if you have homeowners, they do want to put down those roots. They want to have their family ties. They want to have their friendships in the area so that they know that they can develop this long life that they're going to have in that community. So you are going to be able to have a better chance of developing long-lasting friendships and bonds and ties in the community if there are more homeowners. Now, the third benefit that we want to talk about when it comes to the home industry here in Beaumont is the fact that there's a great diversity of different homes in Beaumont. Now, Beaumont is an older city. Like I said, it was originally established as a small French farming town. So as you get closer to the center of the city, you are going to see that there are a lot of older homes. If you'd love to get into an older home, something that has more character and you can put your stamp on it as you live in it longer, you are going to be able to find that here in Beaumont. If you like something that's closer to that 2000 to 2010 range, where it is going to feel lived in, you don't have to do a ton of repairs, but you know that you can come in and it's move-in ready, you're going to be able to find that in Beaumont as well. And if you're looking for brand spanking new, if you want the newest features, if you like modern and slick and nice, then you're going to be able to find that in Beaumont as well. All right, so just all of those points that combine together just show you how great the housing industry in Beaumont is. Now, the second pro that I wanted to talk about with Beaumont today is that it has a very small town feel to it. Now, I've talked to a lot of people who've lived in the Beaumont area, whether they were just there for a few years passing through or they set down longer term roots in Beaumont. And they all tell me the same thing, which is that Beaumont has that small town feel to it. And this is the reason that a lot of people move to the suburbs in the first place. They want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, the faster pace of living, and get somewhere where you have more of a sense of community and a slower pace of life. Beaumont has this in spades. Now, when you look at Beaumont, and we're going to get into this with the Google Map tour at the end of the video, so stick around, but most of Beaumont's commercial storefront space is along the main street, along 50th Street, right down the center. When you get out of 50th Street, most of Beaumont is going to be residential living. Because of this, Beaumont is a very walkable city. There's lots of walking trails, there's lots of parks, and Beaumont, every time you go there, you just see families walking around, you see kids walking to school or their activities, going to the playground or the park, and Beaumont just feels like a very safe and tight-knit community. Now, that's something that a lot of people are looking for in a city, and if you want that smaller town living, if you want the slower pace of living, somewhere safe that you can walk around, you can let your kids walk to their activities and not worry about it, then you are going to find that in Beaumont. Now, that also kind of ties into our third point, our third pro about living in Beaumont, and that's that it's a very family-friendly community. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the main demographic in Beaumont is going to be people in their 30s with young families. There are also a lot of kids in Beaumont. Now, Beaumont knows that this is their main demographic, and they've really catered towards that. There's lots of events for young families in the summer and the winter. There's also a lot of amenities for them. There's recreation centers. You have lots of great schools and lots of parks. This is a place that really caters towards young families. Now, if you have a young family or you plan on starting a young family and you want to be in a city that's family-centric, that has lots of activities and a very tight-knit community, then you are going to be able to find that here in Beaumont. Now, let's talk about some of the cons of living in Beaumont. You don't want to hear just the good stuff. You need to know some of the bad stuff before you move to a city as well. Now, let's talk about the first con, which is there aren't a ton of amenities in the city of Beaumont. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have all the stuff you need for day-to-day living. You're going to have a couple of grocery stores, a couple of sit-down restaurants, a few tire shops, some fast food and some pizza options. You have a daycare, you have your schools. But outside of that, there's not a lot of amenities in the city of Beaumont itself. If you're somebody who likes to go to the movies, go retail shopping, or hang out at the mall, then that's something you're going to have to travel into Edmonton to do. Beaumont is not one of those suburban cities where you feel like you can stay in your own city and only travel into the main city, Edmonton, if there's a concert or a sporting event you want to see. If you live in Beaumont and you like to do some of those other amenities, those other activities, you are going to be having to travel into Edmonton on a weekly basis, more frequent, less frequent, depends really on your lifestyle, but you are going to have to feel like you travel into Edmonton a lot, which can be a chore. Now that kind of ties into the second con that we're going to talk about for the city of Beaumont, and that's that there's not great public transit. Now, Beaumont, really, like I mentioned, outside of that main strip is going to be all residential, and there isn't a lot of transit options to get around the city. Now, if you're living more on the edge of the city, like I said, it is very walkable, but you aren't going to want to walk 20 minutes to get to your groceries. There is a little bit of hill, there's a little bit of elevation in Beaumont. So if you're walking up a hill, down a hill, carrying your groceries, it's not going to feel that walkable if you're going to shop or get your groceries, anything like that, right? So you are going to feel like you do need a car. Now, one thing that we also want to talk about is the location of Beaumont. So because Beaumont's on the southeast side of the city, if you are going into the downtown core or on the north end even of Edmonton, that is going to feel like quite the commute, especially if you're doing it on a daily basis. If you only need to go to the south side of Edmonton, then that is going to be a very manageable commute because, like I said, we are very close to the south side of Edmonton. The other pro about Beaumont is that you are very close to the airport. So if you are someone who travels frequently, then that is going to be a big plus to be very close to the airport. All right, guys, that's it for the pros and the cons about living in Beaumont. We're going to head into Google Maps. We're going to do a little bit of a virtual tour. And again, if you want to stick around for that full video walkthrough tour, go ahead and click the subscribe button. We're going to be posting that later this week. And if it's already out, I'm going to put it at the end video cards so that you can click on it at the end of this video. So make sure you stick around for that. All right, guys, now here we are in Google Maps. We're going to be taking a look a little bit at the city of Beaumont. So here we are. Here is the city of Edmonton. Like I mentioned, Beaumont is down here on the southeast side of Edmonton. Now, like I mentioned, from the south point of Edmonton to the north point of Beaumont, this is only about a 3-minute drive with no traffic. So that's not a hard trip to make on a day-to-day basis. Now, your two main trips into Beaumont here are going to be down 50th Street down this way, and then coming along and meeting up with the Anthony Henday on these roads as well. So there's going to be your two main roads into Beaumont. Let's take the eraser here and get back into it. Now, Beaumont, like I said, the main street is going to be 50th Street, cutting right down the middle of Beaumont along here. Now, this is where you're going to find most of your commercial space. The first little section is going to be here on the north side of Beaumont. So you're going to get some fast food options. You're going to have a Starbucks, McDonald's, you're going to have a Dairy Queen, you're going to have a Boston Pizza as well, a Tim Hortons, you're going to have a CIBC branch here, as well as a Sobeys. So that's going to be one of your two grocery stores in the city. You have a Home Hardware. As you come along 50th Street down here, you are going to have some medical centers in here. You're going to have a Dynalife, a chiropractic center. You have a school along here. And as you keep coming down 50th Street, you are going to have more commercial on the south side of the city. So here's your other grocery store, the No Frills. You're going to have a couple pizza options. You're going to have a couple of fast food options as well. As you swing along down here, 30th Ave, you're going to have a little bit more commercial options. You're going to have some more pizza places, Fountain Tire, a Bell Phone, and then really outside of that, that's all of the commercial area in Beaumont. So the rest of this, all along here on the west side, on the south side, the east side, this is all going to be residential space. Now, if we take a look at some of the other stuff that we're going to see, you do see that we have a couple of recreation centers right here, kind of in the center of town, and then on the west side as well. If we come up to the northwest side, you are going to have a lot of newer construction up in this area. There's going to be Dansereau Meadows up here on the northwest. They are starting to excavate for new residential as well, just on the west side of Beaumont here under the Tree Farm, which is right up here on the northwest side. If we keep coming down looking, this is going to be the Four Seasons Park. This is a great place in Beaumont for families. You're going to have a spray park. There's a playground. There's baseball diamonds. There's a massive football field. And they even have a fish pond here as well for those lazy Saturdays and Sundays where you want to come out with some friends, some family, cast a line, and have fun with those you care about. Now, if you take a look here at Beaumont as well, we do have a lot of lakes here in Beaumont. There are a lot of little lakes, which does provide for some great opportunities to just go hang out by the water, have a good time with friends and family, or else there are also a lot of homes that back onto the lake. So if you don't want people who are living right behind you, you are going to be able to have some of that lakeside living here in Beaumont. As you'll notice here, there is a golf club, Colonial Golf Club, on the east side of town. And if you go even a little farther east than that, you're going to have Eagle Rock Golf Course to the east of Beaumont. And then if you take a look, there are a decent amount of schools here in Beaumont as well. So you have Mother Dieuville School, Champ Valley School over here. You have Bow Meadow School, Bellevue School. You have, where's any others? Dansereau Meadows School over here. So there are a lot of schooling options for the kids. These are good schools as well for the kids. Colonial Estate School over here as well. So that really is it for the map tour of Beaumont, guys. Like I said, I'm going to be going and taking a look at some houses in Beaumont at different price points, showing you some of these amenities and showing you some of these landmarks on a video walkthrough tour that's going to come out later this week. So make sure that you subscribe so that you can see that, as well as any other channels or any other videos that we have about the Edmonton area. Subscribe so that you are the first to know about the current market in Edmonton. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, guys. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful, feel free to give it a thumbs up so that other people can find this content as well. And if you want to see more, go ahead and click on one of the videos above here so that you can learn more about the current market in Edmonton.